We're diving into the story of the 1964 D. Abraham Lincoln penny. Spoiler alert, this little coin might just be more valuable than your car. Before we jump into the juicy details, do me a favor, grab a handful of your loose change. You never know, you might be holding a jackpot in your pocket. Okay, let's get into it. Alright, let's talk about what makes this 1964 D penny so special. First, the D stands for the Denver Mint, where this coin was produced. Now, most pennies from 1964 are just regular OL coins, great for buying gum or throwing into a wishing fountain. But a select few of these pennies? Absolute game changers, so why the hefty price tag? Well, there's a fascinating backstory. The 1964 D penny isn't valuable just because it's old. It's valuable because of its rarity and the collector frenzy around it. Only a handful of these coins were struck with specific errors, like a double die or a unique strike variation. These little quirks make coin collectors go absolutely bananas. Think of it as finding a misprinted Pokemon card, but with way more zeros at the end of its value. Now, let me share a quick story. A few months ago, I was helping my uncle sort through his coin collection. He's one of those guys who never throws away change, like, ever. We came across a 1964 penny, and for a split second I thought we'd struck gold. But turns out no D mint mark, just your average copper coin. Still, it was such a fun experience learning about all these coins that might be hiding treasure troves right under our noses. Back to the star of the show, the 1964 D penny with its $1.4 million price tag. If you're lucky enough to have one, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding history. The beauty of this hobby is that every coin tells a story, and this one tells a tale of meticulous minting and collector frenzy. So, what's the moral of the story? Check your change. Whether it's a jar of coins, a pile in your car's cup holder, or that stash you've been ignoring in the junk drawer, you never know what's hiding in there. And hey, if you find a 1964 D penny, hit me up. I'm serious. We'll celebrate together. Maybe with a vending machine snack, but this time we'll upgrade to the fancy options. Before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more coin tips, stories, and strategies coming your way to help you turn pocket change into big bucks. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. We're diving into the fascinating story of the 1966 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. This little coin could turn your pocket change into a life-changing fortune. So grab a magnifying glass, maybe a cup of coffee, and let's go penny diving. Alright, let's break this down. First off, what's the deal with the no-mint mark? Back in 1966, the US Mint decided to skip mint marks on pennies to curb hoarding. Spoiler alert, it didn't work, but it did create some seriously valuable coins, like this one. Now, what makes this penny worth a jaw-dropping $1.6 million? This is all about rarity and condition. These coins were mass-produced, but finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is like spotting Bigfoot wearing a tutu. People go bananas over coins like this because they're so hard to find. Quick story. I remember going through my dad's old coin jar as a kid, hoping to find treasure. Instead, I found a Canadian penny and 12 sticky M&Ms. Classic. But hey, that childhood curiosity led me here, talking to you fine folks about coins. So, who's the real winner? Back to our $1 million penny. If you think you've got one, here's what to look for. Sharp details, no scratches, and that all-important no-mint mark under the date. Oh, and get it authenticated. Just because it looks shiny doesn't mean it's worth the big bucks. Now, let's address the elephant, or should I say the penny, in the room. Why is someone willing to pay $1.6 million for this coin? The answer lies in collectors. Some people just love rare coins so much they'll empty their bank accounts to get one. Hey, we all have our hobbies. Some collect stamps. Others collect Lamborghinis. To each their own, right? So what did we learn today? That a 1966 no-mint mark penny could be hiding in your couch cushions, just waiting to make you a millionaire. And even if you don't strike it rich, coin collecting is an amazing hobby full of history, mystery, and a little sprinkle of luck. Before you dive into your penny stash, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm here to help you uncover more hidden gems in your spare change. Who knows? Your next penny might just be worth a fortune. And don't forget to share this video with a friend, because Let's be honest, who doesn't want to hear about $1 million penny? We're about to dive into what makes this humble coin a superstar and, more importantly, how you can spot one. Spoiler alert, it's not as simple as flipping over every penny in your couch cushions. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years back, I was going through my coin jar, the one that's always mysteriously heavy but never seems to have more than $5 in it. Anyway, I stumbled across a shiny 1967 penny. My heart skipped a beat. Could this be the one? The $1.7 million miracle? Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But hey, it got me into coin collecting, so it wasn't a total loss. So, what's the deal with this 1967 no mint mark penny? First off, let's talk about why it's worth so much. Coins like this gain their value due to rarity, condition, and historical quirks. In 1967, the U.S. Mint decided to skip mint marks as part of a plan to reduce coin hoarding. Sounds weird, right? But this decision made it harder to trace coins back to their origin, which added a layer of intrigue. Now, the big bucks don't come from just any 1967 penny. The $1.7 million gem is a one-of-a-kind specimen in near-perfect condition, graded as MS67 or higher. That's mint lingo for this penny looks like it just popped out of a time machine. Most of us won't find a flawless coin in our spare change. Years of jingling in pockets, drops on the pavement, and questionable trips through laundry machines tend to wear them down. But don't lose hope. Even a lower-grade 1967 penny can fetch a pretty penny, pun absolutely intended, if it has unique features like doubling, think blurry text, or off-center strikes. Relatable humor moment you re at the grocery store checkout. You hand the cashier a penny, and they glance at it before tossing it into the till. Little do they know, they just handled a $1.7 million treasure. Talk about a plot twist better than most movies. So, how do you know if you've hit the jackpot? Use a magnifying glass to look for errors or doubling on the lettering. If your penny looks pristine, consider having it professionally graded. Check auction sites for similar coins to see what they're selling for. Join a community. Coin collectors love to share tips and help newcomers. Conclusion. All right, my fellow penny detectives, now it's your turn. Dig into those change jars, scour your wallets, and don't forget to check under the car seat. You never know when a little copper circle might turn into a massive payday. And hey, if you enjoyed this video and want more tips on coins worth money, plus a sprinkle of humor and relatable stories, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Together, we'll turn your spare change into serious cash. Who knew pennies could be so exciting? Have you ever found an old penny lying around and thought, it's just a penny, no big deal? Well, I'm here to tell you that one penny could be worth $1.8 million. Yup, you heard that right. This isn't some kind of crazy game show prize, it's a real thing, and it's all thanks to the 1968 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. If you've got one of these in your collection, you might want to give it a second look because it could make you a small fortune. Let's dive into why this penny is worth its weight in gold. Well, more than gold actually. So here's the deal. Most of us have come across a penny or two, right? We pick them up off the sidewalk or dig them out of our couch cushions when we're searching for spare change to buy a soda. And usually we just toss them into a jar, forget about them, and move on with our lives. But not this one. The 1968 no mint mark penny is rare, and that's why it's got collectors doing double takes. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of why this penny is so special. In 1968, the U.S. Mint produced pennies with a mint mark that indicated which mint the coin came from, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But a very small number of pennies that year were struck without a mint mark. These no mint mark coins weren't supposed to happen, and that's what makes them super rare and valuable. In fact, it's believed that only a handful of them ever left the mint, and they're not easy to find. You may be thinking, well, if it's that rare, how much is it really worth? Hold on to your hat, because the current market value for a 1968 no mint mark penny can be up to $1.8 million. That's right, a single penny could be worth more than most people's cars. Heck, it could probably buy you a small island if you're lucky enough to find one in good condition. But before you run to your coin jar and start digging through all those pennies, let me explain a little more about how this happens. You see, it's all about rarity and condition. The 1968 no mint mark penny is valuable not just because it's rare, but also because it's in high demand among collectors. A well-preserved penny with no wear and tear is going to fetch a higher price. And if you've got one that's nearly perfect, you're sitting on a gold mine. But here's the kicker. Finding one in good shape isn't easy. Most of the 1968 pennies floating around today have been tossed around in circulation for decades, so they're pretty beat up. Let me tell you, this whole coin hunting thing really hits home for me. A few years ago, I was going through my old coin collection, just casually sorting through some pennies I thought were worthless. And boom, I stumbled upon a 1968 penny. My heart started racing. Could it be one of those no mint mark rarities? I did a quick check, no mint mark. After researching a bit, I realized I had stumbled onto something special. Unfortunately, mine wasn't in mint condition, but it did give me a good laugh thinking about how lucky I could have been. Moral of the story: always double-check your pennies. You never know what you're sitting on. So, if you're out there flipping through your coin collection and you find a 1968 penny without a mint mark, take a deep breath and hold onto it tight. You might just be holding onto your ticket to a very, very nice payday. And hey, even if it's not worth a cool 1.8 million, it could still be worth a pretty penny. Pun intended. If you want more tips on what coins could be worth big bucks, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more tips, tricks, and maybe even a few more coin hunting stories up my sleeve. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on this stuff. We're talking about the 1972 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. This little guy could be worth as much as $1.20 million. Yep, you heard me right. So grab your magnifying glass, and let's see if you've got one of these rare gems hiding in your collection. You might just be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. Alright, let's get into it. The 1972 no mint mark penny is one of those coins that'll make any serious collector do a double take. If you're wondering what makes this penny so special, here's the deal. Most pennies from the 1970s are, well, pretty standard. You can find them all over the place. But the 1972 no mint mark penny? It's rare and it's got a bit of a mystery behind it. Normally, pennies have a mint mark to tell you where they were made. You've got your D for Denver and S for San Francisco. But in 1972, a small number of pennies were struck without any mint mark. This tiny oversight, or maybe just a lucky accident, created a coin that collectors would go wild for decades later. It's like finding a ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but instead of chocolate, it's rare coins. Now, the reason this coin can fetch such a high price, we're talking $1.2 million in some cases, has a lot to do with its rarity and demand. Less than 20 of these no mint mark pennies have been confirmed in mint condition, making them about as rare as a unicorn with a four-leaf clover in its hoof. So if you've got one of these rare pennies in your collection, you might want to take a closer look. But here's the kicker. Just because it's a 1972 penny with no mint mark, it doesn't automatically mean it's worth millions. Condition is key. A penny that's seen better days. Say, maybe it's been through the wash a few too many times or looks like it's been kicked around the block. Won't bring in that sweet $1 million payout. But if yours is in near-perfect shape, you might be sitting on something that could make you a serious payday. Speaking of which, let me tell you a little story. So, a couple of years ago, I found a box of pennies in my grandpa's attic. Yeah, I know, it was a treasure trove of what looked like the least exciting thing ever. But I thought, what the heck? Let's see if any of these are worth anything. I found a couple of old pennies and some foreign coins, and one was a 1972 penny. I thought, cool, but nothing crazy. Fast forward to me doing some research and bam. Turns out, it was a no mint mark 1972 penny. Now, it wasn't in mint condition, but it was worth way more than I thought. Moral of the story? Check your change, folks. You never know what you've got lying around. So what's the takeaway here? If you've got a 1972 penny with no mint mark, take a closer look. Could be worth a whole lot more than just 1 cent. Keep an eye out for that mint condition. Because if you've got one of the rare ones, it could seriously change your financial future if you learned something new today, or if you just want more tips on how to find hidden gems in your coin collection. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got more videos coming your way to help you spot valuable coins and make the most of your collection. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. We're talking about one of the most mind-blowing pennies out there, the 1976 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Spoiler alert, this little guy could be worth a whopping $1.6 million. Yeah, you heard that right. A penny worth $1 million. I know, I almost spit out my coffee when I first heard about it too. But don't go throwing your entire coin collection into your local wishing well just yet. We'll break down why this penny is so special, how to find one, and what makes it so valuable. So grab your magnifying glass and let's dive in. Alright, let's get to it. So, you've probably got a few 1976 pennies laying around, right? They're not exactly rare, after all, the US Mint churned out billions of them that year. But here's the kicker. There's a very specific version of the 1976 penny that's sending collectors into a frenzy. It's the one with the D mint mark and a huge mistake. Now, I know what you're thinking, what could be so special about a mistake on a penny? Well, let me tell you. Back in 1976, during the US bicentennial celebrations, the US Mint was producing millions of coins to commemorate the occasion. But in all that excitement, some pennies slipped through with a critical error. Instead of being struck properly, they were created with some odd characteristics, like misaligned dies, off-center strikes, or sometimes even missing the mint mark entirely. The star of today's show, though, is the 1976 D mint mark penny. These bad boys can feature everything from doubled dies to errors in the copper plating process. The combination of the mint mark and these errors is what makes it so valuable. When a mint error is as dramatic as this one, collectors start seeing dollar signs, $1 million signs to be exact. And here's the best part, these 1976 D mint mark pennies aren't just rare. They're collectible. If you happen to have one of these pennies in your pocket, you could be holding on to something worth more than your daily latte. I'm talking $1.6 million at auction. Yeah, that's right. A penny. So, what makes this penny so valuable? The main thing collectors are after is the mistake, the off-center strike or the die doubling. When these happen, it makes the coin much more valuable to collectors, especially those looking for the odd, quirky, and super rare pieces. Think of it like finding a piece of vintage tech, like a classic video game cartridge that still works perfectly and has sentimental value to the right person. Now, here's a little story from my personal experience that might make this all a bit more relatable. A couple of years ago, I found a bag of old coins at a yard sale. Nothing too fancy, just a mix of pennies and quarters from different decades. Most of them were junk, but I held on to them because, hey, you never know. After doing some research, I came across a penny from 1982 that had some unusual wear. Turns out, it had a slight double die error. Nothing like the 1976 D, but enough to make it worth 20 times what I paid for the bag. Moral of the story: always check your coins. Folks, you never know when you could be sitting on a small fortune. So, how do you know if your 1976 D mint mark penny is one of the special ones? Well, check for a few key things. First, make sure it's the right mint mark. Second, look for any signs of misalignment, doubling, or other errors in the design. And third, if you've got something that looks like it might be worth a little more than a cup of coffee, it's definitely worth getting it appraised by a professional. Now, I'm not saying that all your pennies are going to make you a millionaire overnight, but if you find that elusive 1976 D with a minting error, you could very well be looking at a tiny treasure worth $1.6 million. Not bad for a coin that most people toss aside without a second thought. Before I go, here's your call to action. If you enjoyed hearing about rare coins and want more tips on how to spot valuable ones, hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more videos coming your way, with strategies on how to uncover hidden treasures in your spare change. Don't miss out. You could be the next coin millionaire. So, keep your eyes peeled and your magnifying glass handy. Happy coin hunting, and we're diving into one of the most mind-blowing pennies you've probably never even heard of, the 1977 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Hold on to your hats, because the value of this little copper coin is enough to make your jaw drop. So, here's the deal with the 1977 no mint mark Lincoln penny. It's a total freak accident of a coin, and when it comes to coin collecting, accidents can be gold mines. Literally. This penny is rare, like rare. It doesn't have a mint mark, which was a big mistake by the US Mint. They were supposed to put mint marks on coins to show where they were produced, but somehow, a few of these pennies slipped through the cracks without them. It's like finding a unicorn in your backyard. If unicorns were made of copper and had Lincoln's face on them. But here's the kicker. This penny, one single penny, has been known to fetch up to $1.7 million in the right auction. Yeah, you heard that right. $1.7 million. That's enough to buy a new car, or even a house if you're lucky. Imagine telling your friends you made $1 million off a coin you picked up at the store. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, right? There's no way I have one of those pennies. Well, here's the thing. This penny isn't easy to find, but it's not impossible either. There are still a few out there hiding in plain sight, and maybe one of them is just waiting for you to find it in your pocket change. The best part? It's not like you need to be some kind of expert to spot it. Just remember that a 1977 penny with no mint mark is your golden ticket. But before you go checking your coin jars, let me tell you a quick story from my own life. A few years ago, I was at a yard sale and spotted a jar of loose change. You know, the kind where people just dump all their pennies and nickels that have been sitting in the back of the drawer for decades. Well, I almost walked past it because, let's face it, who needs more pennies, right? But something told me to stop and take a look. I pulled out a few coins, and while they were nothing special, it got me thinking, what if there was a rare coin hidden here? So I grabbed the jar, did a quick search at home, and guess what? I found a coin worth a lot more than I expected. I'm still holding on to that one for a future video. Now, I'm not saying you'll find a $1.7 million penny at your local yard sale, but you get the point. Keep an eye out. And hey, while you're searching through your old pennies, why not give your collection a little TLC? Who knows, you might just end up with a small fortune in your hands. Alright, let's wrap this up. If you happen to stumble upon a 1977 no-mint mark penny, you could be looking at a hefty payday. Whether you find it in your change jar, at a yard sale, or in your pocket, it's worth the time to check and make sure. And hey, even if you don't find one, remember, coin collecting is all about the hunt and the thrill of the chase. Plus, now you know what to look for. So, if you're enjoying these tips and want to hear more about coins that are worth money, because trust me, there are plenty, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm dropping tips, strategies, and coin knowledge every week, and you don't want to miss out on the next big find. I'm going to tell you about a coin that could make you seriously rich, yes, even if you've just got a handful of pennies lying around. Specifically, the 1982 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. This little coin could be worth, wait for it, over $1.2 million. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? But trust me, it's real. Stick around because this penny might just be sitting in your pocket right now, and I'll explain exactly why you should check. Alright, let's get into it. So, what makes the 1982 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny so valuable? Well, here's the deal. Most pennies from 1982 have a mint mark, either a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But some mysteriously lack any mint mark at all. These are the rare ones, and they didn't pop up in every roll of pennies. In fact, they were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, but somehow they just didn't get the stamp of approval. Literally. So, how does this lead to a coin worth $1.20 million? Imagine you're at a coin shop or scrolling through an online auction. You see this penny, and because it's from 1982 and has no mint mark, you might be tempted to just dismiss it as another worn-out penny. But stop. If you flip it over and get a closer look, you could be holding a rare anomaly in your hands, a coin that could fetch a small fortune. Now, before you go diving into your change jar or raiding your couch cushions, I should mention that only a small number of these mintless pennies exist in exceptional condition. We're talking about pennies with no damage, a sharp, clear strike, and basically looking like they just came out of the mint yesterday. The truth is, the most valuable examples of these coins have sold for up to $1.2 million at auction. And no, that's not a typo. You could potentially make enough to buy a new car, or maybe even a house, just by checking for the right pennies. You're probably wondering, how do I know if I have one? Well, here's a quick checklist. First, it should be from 1982, with no mint mark on the reverse side. Second, it should be in great condition. No scratches, discoloration, or signs of heavy wear. And third, you should be able to find a reputable coin dealer or auction house that can authenticate it and give you an accurate valuation. Now, let me share a quick story from my own experience. A while ago, I was sorting through a box of old coins that I found in my grandma's attic. She's got more collectibles than a museum, seriously. There, buried under all these coins from the 60s and 70s, was a single penny. It was the same 1982 penny, no mint mark. At first, I didn't think much of it. But after remembering a few things I read about the rare variety, I did some research. Turns out it wasn't worth millions, but it was worth more than I expected. So now, I keep an eye out for that rare, mintless variety. Never know when you'll stumble upon a jackpot. So, if you're lucky enough to find a 1982 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, get it appraised, and who knows, you could end up with a serious payday. But even if you don't find that million-dollar penny, just remember that coin collecting is about more than just money. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the history behind each coin, and maybe the chance to find something incredible when you least expect it. Before you go running off to check your change jar, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got more tips on finding coins worth money, strategies for building your collection, and some awesome stories about rare finds. Don't miss out. Your next treasure could be right around the corner. We're diving into this crazy coin and why it might be hiding in your pocket, under the couch cushions, or who knows, maybe in a drawer full of random change. Let's get into it. Alright, let's rewind for a second. You know the typical penny, right? Copper, weighs about 2.5 grams, the good old Abe Lincoln with that recognizable beard. But what if I told you there's a specific 1984 penny with no mint mark that could be worth more than a house? Sounds like something out of a coin collector's wildest dreams. But here's the deal: in 1984, most pennies were minted in Philadelphia, and they have a P mint mark under Lincoln's date. But some, and I mean some, were accidentally made with no mint mark at all. These minting errors are rarer than a unicorn sighting at your local zoo. And guess what? A mistake like that makes the coin way more valuable than your standard pocket change. So, let me tell you a quick story. A couple of years ago, I was going through some old coins my grandparents gave me. At the time, I thought I was just sorting through some random pennies for fun, thinking, hey, this one's a bit shinier than the others. Maybe it's worth a little more. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But then, as I looked more closely, I found a 1984 penny in the mix. Not just any penny, though. This one had no mint mark. I got a little excited and started Googling, doing the whole, oh my gosh, is this the one? Routine. Turns out it wasn't worth $1.4 million, but it was a reminder that coins, even pennies, can have some unexpected value if you know where to look. Now, let's break down why this 1984 no mint mark penny is worth so much. First, the 1984 no mint mark penny is considered a minting error. These kinds of errors happen when the minting process goes a little haywire, like when a coin is struck without the usual mint mark. It's like baking a batch of cookies and one batch turns out without any chocolate chips. Rare, but kind of a happy accident. So, how rare are we talking here? Well, there are only a few known examples of the 1984 no mint mark penny out there. The rarity of this coin, combined with its error status, makes it a collector's dream. People are paying top dollar for this penny because it's like finding a diamond in a pile of gravel. If you happen to have one of these, you might be looking at a few $100,000, or even that mind-blowing $1.4 million. Yeah, that's right, you could be a millionaire just by checking your change. Now, let's get real for a second. Just because you have a 1984 penny without a mint mark doesn't automatically mean it's worth $1.4 million. Condition matters. If your penny is in perfect shape, maybe even with that uncirculated look, then you're in business. But if it's been through the ringer and looks like it's been dragged behind a truck for a few miles, yeah, the value might not be quite as high. It's all about that mint condition. So how do you tell if your 1984 penny has no mint mark? Simple, just take a look under the date. Normally, you'll see the mint mark, either a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. Right there. If it's missing, then congratulations, you might have the golden ticket. The only way to be sure, though, is to get it checked by a professional like a coin grader or appraiser. You don't want to miss out on $1 million opportunity by assuming it's just another regular penny. And by the way, if you don't have one of these pennies, well, it's not the end of the world. Keep looking. If you're into coin collecting, remember that there are plenty of other valuable coins out there waiting to be discovered. Sometimes, it's all about knowing what to look for and keeping an eye out for those hidden treasures. So what's the moral of the story here? First off, check your change. You never know when you might find a coin that's worth more than your lunch. And second, if you've got a 1984 no mint mark penny, don't just toss it into your coin jar. Take a closer look, because it could be worth a lot more than you think. If you found this video helpful or just love learning about coins, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on more tips and tricks for finding coins worth money. Plus, I've got some seriously cool videos coming your way. We're diving into the fascinating world of the 1988 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, a coin that could be worth a jaw-dropping $1.8 million. Yep, you heard that right. Million with an M. So, if you've got a bunch of pennies laying around, this could be the treasure hunt you never knew you needed. But before you start digging through that jar of loose change, let's break down the mystery of this penny and see how something that small could be worth so much. Stick around till the end because I've got some valuable coin tips coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss them. Alright, let's start with the basics. The 1988 D penny, minted in Denver, looks just like your average Lincoln penny. It's got that classic Abraham Lincoln portrait on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But here's the kicker, it has an extremely rare error that boosts its value into the stratosphere. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't this just a regular penny? Well, yes and no. Most 1988 D pennies are worth, well, 1 cent. However, there are a very, very small number of these pennies that were mistakenly produced with an error that makes them worth millions. We're talking about a double die obverse error, where the die used to strike the penny was misaligned, causing Lincoln's portrait and the lettering on the front to appear doubled. This makes the coin look like it's been hit twice, and that little extra oops in the minting process is what makes collectors lose their minds and their wallets. Now, you might be wondering how a little mistake like that turns a 1-cent coin into something worth $1.8 million. Well, that's because rarity plus demand equals big bucks. These double die errors are incredibly rare, and since so many collectors are looking for them, they drive the price up. It's like finding a unicorn at a petting zoo. Very rare, highly coveted, and very expensive. That I remember the first time I heard about these error pennies. I was at a coin show a few years ago, just browsing around and admiring the shiny stuff. There was this one booth where the seller was talking about error coins, and he casually mentioned the 1988 D penny with the double die obverse. I laughed, thinking he was joking. Penny worth $1 million, right? But after a quick Google search, I was like, whoa, this is real. Turns out I was in the wrong business at the time, should have been hunting for rare coins instead of, well, whatever it was I was doing back then. But back to the point, if you've got a 1988 D penny, you'll want to do a close inspection. Grab a magnifying glass because these double die errors can be tricky to spot with the naked eye. Look carefully at the lettering around Lincoln's bust and see if it looks doubled. If it does, you might just have a gold mine on your hands. Now, I'll be honest, most 1988 D pennies are going to be worth, well, 1 cent. The chances of you finding one of these error pennies are slim, but if you do, jackpot. And trust me, if you think you have one, you'll want to get it professionally graded. Grading will give you an accurate idea of its value and could help you sell it for top dollar. So, what can we learn from the 1988 D penny? Well, first off, keep an eye on your change. You never know when something might pop up that's worth more than its face value. And second, don't underestimate the power of a little mistake. That tiny double die error turned an ordinary penny into a coin worth $1.80 million. If you're anything like me, you're probably going to start digging through your old coin jars now. And hey, who could blame you? If you find something, make sure to tell your friends, because you might just be the next big coin collector in town. But before you run off to search for treasure, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more tips on coins worth money and strategies for finding your own hidden gems. You can't get rich by just watching TV, but you can start getting smarter about your coins. And who knows, you might just stumble upon a fortune. So what are you waiting for? Grab that magnifying glass and get searching. And if you find one of these rare pennies, don't forget to come back and thank me. Or, send me a small finder's fee. Just kidding.